Hey everybody, what's happening? Neil back once again with another quick film review for you. And today, I'm going to be taking a look at Shazam! Fury of the Gods. So, we have a sequel to the 2019 hit film, which was basically Superman meets the movie Big, with Tom Hanks. It was basically that. Kid becomes an adult superhero, and hilarity ensues. And they actually had a pretty good villain in that film, too, played by Mark Strong. And I really, really dug it. I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. So, how's this sequel going to fare? Well, first off, I gotta say, spoilers. Spoiler alert, yes, I will be spoiling the heck out of this movie, as I usually do. Alright, you've been warned. Moving on. This movie was directed by David F. Sandberg, again, who directed the first movie. And it's not as good as the first one, but not bad. It's actually really funny, and it's full of action. Tons of action with great visual effects, and some really nice characters as well here. A very nice, diverse cast of characters. And we get a lot more of the Shazamly, the family of superpowered champions here. And another thing about it is that it's, much more colorful than the old Zack Snyder movies or some of the darker DC movies, and it's certainly appropriate for the whole family. So, story-wise, we get 6 champions in Philadelphia, PA, and those champions are, of course, Billy, Freddie, Pedro, Eugene, Darla, and Mary. And they're all kind of this team. They've got their own faction, going on, and their own HQ, at the Rock of Eternity and all this stuff. And it's cool. It's like they've got their own, like, kind of, I want to call it a man cave, but it's, it's just like a wonderful place for them to hang out and do whatever they want. And there's also these doors that lead to different places, different dimensions. Some are scary, some are not. Some lead them to where they want to go. But it's interesting. So the team is called into action early on here in the film as they go and rescue a bunch of people from a collapsing bridge. And we see that Freddie Freeman is, he's really cocky as his superhero here. The superhero Freddie is very overconfident, a lot of hubris there, and we get the feeling that, yeah, he's gonna wind up, making a mistake and learning a lesson here. You get that feeling, right? Well, yes, exactly. That's exactly what happens. So he falls for a girl at high school, and she turns out to be not what she says she is. She turns out to be actually one of these 3 daughters of Atlas. The other 2 actually wind up stealing this staff, and then they have the wizard captured, and the wizard is alive, and I'm not sure if that was ever explained, but regardless, played once again by Jimon Hunsu, and he repowers the staff unwillingly, and now they've got the power. So the other 2 sisters meet up with the 3rd sister, who basically tricks the superhero version of Freddie Freeman into turning into a superhero, and then they depower him. And Anne doesn't seem that evil, though. Anne is very much like, oh, I didn't know it was you. Like, she actually seemed to genuinely like Freddie Freeman, even though he's a very sarcastic kind of guy. But, that's good. That's charming, actually. So what they wind up doing is they wind up capturing Freddie, and they put a barrier dome around Philly, and they lock him up with the wizard. Hespera, played by Helen Mirren, she winds up later allowing herself to be captured, and she easily escapes that capture, and she steals this golden apple, which can plant this tree of life. And Calypso, played by Lucy Liu, winds up being the real big bad of this film. She wants to basically change the earth, terraform the earth, I guess, kind of like in Man of Steel when they tried to do that. But they use this golden apple, which is, a legendary mythological artifact, and it's if you plant it in the ground, it'll grow the tree of life, which will take over life, I guess, and create a new world, restoring their world. Because these 3 daughters of Atlas are out for revenge after their father was killed and their powers were taken away by the wizard, and then the wizard passed those powers down. So there you go. Okay, it's a lot to digest, but no, it's really well explained in this film. Actually, I thought the pacing was quite good there. So after Freddy and the wizard are rescued, we find out that there's a dragon, that is released, and Calypso winds up betraying her sisters, and then her and the dragon wind up being taken out by Shazam, but at the cost of his own life. And just before that, the gang are all depowered now. They've all lost their powers, and they wind up actually dealing with these monsters that come out of these pods, and they defeat them by befriending these unicorns. And they basically tame them with Skittles, and I just thought, okay, this seems a bit, obvious product placement or whatnot, like how much did Skittles pay for this? I don't know. So that was a bit disappointing. I didn't like that part of the movie too much, but oh well, that's a very minor misgiving there. So again, back to the, the very end of the movie where, the Hespera is now dead as she was killed by her sister, basically. And then Anne was also depowered, so she was like a normal girl and everything. So everyone had lost their powers. Billy Batson appears to be dead. But then they go to the whole funeral scene, and they say that the only way to reignite the staff, which gives the power, is to have a god do it. And the wizard says, "Oh, there's no more gods left." And so we get a special appearance. And the special appearance is, of course, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Princess Diana. She shows up because she's a god, or at least part god anyway. She's created by the gods. She shows up and she reignites the staff. That brings Billy back to life. And everyone gets their powers back, including Anne as well, the last surviving daughter of Atlas. So, I gotta say, it was pretty good. And then, of course, we have a mid-credits scene. And in that mid-credits scene, Amelia and John from the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker show as well, they want to recruit Shazam into the Justice Society, but they give up when they find him pretty annoying, because he just goes on about other names for the Justice Society because he thinks it's unoriginal. It's too much like the Justice League, which he would rather be in anyway with Wonder Woman because he's got a huge crush on her. But that's the mid-credits scene. And then we get a post-credits scene with Dr. Savannah, played by Mark Strong from the first film. He's still in his cell, and he's visited by Mr. Mind, he's like an inchworm or something that he can talk. He's got a little voice box around his neck, and he tells Savannah that he's got a plan, and he's got something to do first, so he'll be back. And of course, it takes him forever to get anywhere, so Savannah's being tortured here and being forced to wait. So he's just like, "God damn it!" And that's the last line of the actual film. So yeah, I guess just torturing Savannah was the point, because I don't think they're gonna do any more of these. I don't know. It may depend on the box office, but this could be the last Shazam movie just because of DC's kind of plans for the future. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. I wasn't too sure about the Daughters of Atlantis being the main antagonists of this sequel, but Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu, they actually won me over. Lucy Liu winding up being the real villain of the film. And I thought they were actually really good. They're really good at being serious, no nonsense, and shouting, and murderous too as well. They do actually kill a couple of characters in this movie. So that's good. I mean, there's some, in terms of the story, in terms of the weight of the, the threat that these ladies possess. They are basically gods, and to them, human beings are just, ants. They're really nothing to them. We don't see much of Billy Batson in this movie, but that makes sense. He's played by Asher Angel. He's very good, but it makes sense, of course, because Shazam is needed almost constantly here. So we need Levi's adult version of the character. And maybe there are too many members of the Shazam League. One or two seem like, okay, like, time for your scene, now time for your scene, and then your scene. And it just seemed a little bit overstuffed to me. But they couldn't get rid of them now after they've already established, that there's 6 of them in the last film. So, it's not like they were going to say, oh, one's off to college. I think Mary was about to go off to college or something, but she doesn't, and that's good because I like her character quite a bit. We get a really cool scene of her losing her powers and falling from the sky, which actually is very reminiscent of the comics. So that's really cool. I was really happy to see that as a comic book fanboy. Um, yeah, so I think that Mirren's serious godlike character, it contrasts well with Shazam. They have a funny scene in the little eating area there, little restaurant dining area outside, and I liked that scene quite a bit. Billy Batson's self-doubt didn't really feel necessary to me. I didn't really care about the stuff with the therapist. Well, he wasn't a therapist, he was a pediatrician, but he was treating him like a therapist. It was really more Freddie Freeman that needed to learn from his hubris, from his mistakes, and he does, kinda. Still a cocky guy. Well played by Jack Dylan Grazer. And I just didn't really care for the monsters and the unicorns. I was just kind of like, okay. I mean, I get it that we have to like show that things are changing. This is going to be a new planet with new creatures and stuff, and but it's just kind of silly that they were tamed by Skittles, and the young character Darla, she's a cute girl, but she goes, taste the rainbow, and I just go, wow, like like I'm surprised they didn't say just do it or something and promote Nike too while they're at it or something. It just seemed like, ooh, that's a little too sellout, a little too product placement, but it's a minor misgiving, so that's all right. Some nice references to the comics as well. At one point, Freddie Freeman calls Shazam Captain Everypower Jr., and the junior part is really funny because Freddie Freeman, the character in the comics, was originally known as Captain Marvel Jr. Yes, Elvis Presley's favorite superhero, yes. But can't call him that anymore, unless, well, they can't, we can, but DC can't call anybody Captain Marvel anymore if they don't want to get sued, so, oh well. Tawny as well is mentioned. Tawny is a tiger, was a talking tiger in the Shazam books and animation as well, and stuff, and that's really funny that they mentioned that Darla has a kitten briefly, and she calls the kitten Tawny after the tiger in the comics, so that's cool. Levi is perfectly cast once again, although this sequel, it really does focus mainly on Freddie Freeman. It is a really goofy movie, but it's a lot of fun. It's cool. There's not too many there aren't too many pop culture references, thankfully. But the humor and the cast, and the visual effects are excellent and everything, of course, so they really do make it work. Grace Caroline Curry as Mary gets to play her superhero version. This time around, in the previous movie, it was a different actress that played her superhero version. But now she gets to be both, so she doesn't need her grown-up version. She's the only one. And I gotta say that the image of Lucy Liu riding a dragon is pretty damn awesome. Yeah, so I'll leave you with that thought. So, this sequel was better than I thought, and I love the character, I love the first film. This one's not quite as good, but it was better than I expected, so I'm gonna give Shazam! Fury of the Gods a 7.5 out of 10. Alright guys, that's all for me. This is Neil. And until next time, peace.